That's right, everybody. Can MAGA has healthy media? That is the topic for today. Rev Deuce found himself last night in a fit of pique. As they say sometimes, a fit of pique, that's right. Rev Deuce found himself in a fit of pique. And he was wondering and going over whether or not he could create a healthy media diet for his mad friends, loved ones, neighbors, doctors, lawyers, merchants, and chiefs. Good morning, Madison. I'm so sorry to everyone for appearing so tardily the last couple of days. Chiefs. Good morning, Madison. I'm so sorry to everyone. And I am so grateful for all of you to be here, and I am getting the Substack chat up. Wouldn't it be, what is... Pop, pop, fizz, fizz. Oh, what a relief it is. It really would be. You know, they say in musical improv, don't force the rhyme and focus instead on, clarity of thought and of idea. But instead, oftentimes, we do force the rhyme because it feels so nice to rhyme. But anyway, Jacob, hello, darling. How are you, my dear? It is wonderful to be with you. And so what we are talking about this morning is, can MAGA has healthy media diet? What is that an allusion to? That is a reference to a meme on the internet that is Ken I has cheeseburger, right? It's like a cat that wants a cheeseburger. Is that what it is? Do we know or do we not know? Well, tell me about it, gang. And then, what is it? The Yang Gang? That was a thing. Remember the Yang Gang? I'm just stalling for time as I queue up. I can has cheeseburger. Yes, you can, Madison. You know what's interesting, Madison? I've never told you this, and I hope not to pain you when I say it. But my friend's parents, my friend's family had a dog, a childhood dog. The dog was named Madison. And so oftentimes when I hear your name or say your name, I hear it as said by a French Egyptian man in his 70s. Madison. So you should know that. And I think you deserve to know that. And so there you go. So welcome into the program. We're going to talk about, how come I don't hear why don't I hear do you guys hear meditation music? What's going on? I don't hear it. And that makes me sad. And so I wonder what happened. Oh, it's so weird. It's like when I cue it up. That's interesting. Give me 1 second, my good dears and dearies. Thank you for waiting patiently as I start the show pretty crappily the last couple of days. That's just what's up. So my bad. My big bad. My big old baddo. So Ken, but now you hear it. So that's so bizarre. Anyway, whatever. Who gives a crap? So anyway, here we are, everybody. I love you. You love me. Jason says he hears it. Connie Bethards hears it. Can MAGA has healthy media diet? So I want to talk to you about this. I realized last night, I says to myself, hey, Rev Deuce, you are an information nutritionist. That's what you call yourself. That's not just what you call yourself. That is what you are. You have manifested a reality where you are an information nutritionist. And so how are you manifesting that for everybody? You talk to MAGA people and you tell everyone to go on this one stream that you've created. For I've created this list, as we can see on the Scriggity Scriznine, right? I've created all of these lists for our friends, loved ones, you, me, everybody. And you can tell everybody about Deuce's lists. They might be quite complex, and that is because it is a weird time. It is a weird time. It's a weird time to live. How scary the world is. So we better consult healthy news. So I says to myself, I'm an information nutritionist, right? I just did morning pages for the first time. Anybody ever do the artist's way? That's right. I am doing the artist's way. Yes, I am. So I did my morning pages, and boy, howdy, it was weird. And I just wrote freehand with my left hand because I'm a left-handed writer. And I throw righty because I am very advanced. Now, I says to myself, I'm an information nutritionist, so I can make a healthy MAGA media diet. And of course, obviously, our MAGA friends and loved ones will probably feel patronized by that. They'll feel talked down to about that. But look, this is just the reality, okay? It's not. We have in the world, demagoguery exists. In the world, we have the historical precedents for it. We have the understanding of it. We have the definitions of it. And we are in a time of demagoguery. We are in a time of propaganda. And you bring that reality up to your MAGA friends and loved ones and neighbors. And because of propaganda, they are very upset. Now, what's interesting, this is fascinating. Let me look at this. So what did I made a project. Now, where are all my projects at? I made a project yesterday, you stupid ChatGPT. New project. Is this it? Is this the new project? I mean, I thought that this was it. What the hell, man? Oh my God. Conservative newsroom recommendations? No. God. Give me 1 second, everybody. Here we go. Last night, you told me about how to talk to MAGA loved ones about media and disinformation. Restate your end of the conversation. Like, where does stuff go in ChatGPT? I'm so upset, and that is not what I want the viewers to see, is me being upset. So this is lead with respect, not condescension, talk about shared values, highlight the business model of outrage, introduce healthier alternatives, right? Ask questions instead of arguing, be patient. Now, this is what I want to ask it right now. Do you have advice for MAGA people to talk to their non-MAGA relatives about their media diets? And I'm going to be fascinated by this answer. Yes, and it's a smart, healing question. If MAGA individual line want to have more respectful, productive conversations with their non-MAGA loved ones about media and trust, here's how they can approach it without escalating conflict or deepening division. Advice for MAGA supporters talking to non-MAGA relatives about media. Lead with curiosity, not condemnation. Don't start with accusations about fake news or liberal bias. Instead, ask honest questions about how your loved one chooses media, what they trust, and what concerns them. What do you usually read or watch to stay informed? Do you ever feel like media misses things that matter to people like us? Madison, don't be cheeky and look at my stuff. It is so annoying that it doesn't remember. I told it to create a new project that was called MAGA Media Diet yesterday. And where is that? I'm stewing in my boots and I'm steaming in my pants, and that doesn't mean that I'm pooping. Share your concerns, not just your sources. Rather than jumping straight into Fox clips or memes, share what you're worried about in your own life. This is fascinating. Jobs, crime, inflation, cultural changes. This grounds the conversation in real experience. Well, interestingly, I mean, in many situations, and with all due respect to our MAGA loved ones, I just renamed that. I just made that. It's now just an empty file. And now I'm afraid I lost the thing that I just had. Oh my God, did I lose the thing that I just had? What the fuck? Library? Where's my current conversation? GPTs? What the hell? I just lost? I mean, but it's so stupid. Ready when you are, MAGA meet. It's so dumb. I can't believe it's this poor. Okay, here we go. Share your concerns rather than jumping into straight into. I'm so sorry to be so TO'd. When I see things changing so fast, I get worried. That's why I pay attention to these stories. They help me make sense of it, even if I don't agree with every word. Acknowledge that all media has bias. Admitting this helps build trust. Your relatives are more likely to hear your views if you acknowledge that bias exists on both sides, including in the outlets you follow. Avoid echo chamber terms. Try not to use phrases like deep state, fake news, or libtards. These trigger shutdowns. Instead of use specific fact-based language that encourages mutual exploration of the truth. Now, this one I thought was really good. I wrote this down in a separate place. That what I want to start doing with MAGA folks is I want to say, okay, pick something, and then I'll find it being covered in somewhere like ProPublica or Wired or, you know, like the Bucks County Beacon or something, and then I'll ask them to find it covered in theirs, and then we will compare the frames and those kinds of things, and we can do the fact checks. Now, do you think that's something that would work on TikTok? Because we don't get MAGA folks in here, which is why I'm increasingly looking to moving on from this space. And I'm so sorry to Jason and to others. I will maybe need to encourage you to find me Revduce other places, because what's happening is I need to focus on growth. And I grow so much every single time I go on TikTok, even though TikTok seems like a hellscape and Twitch seems like a better space. So I need to figure this all out, but I'm just giving an early warning. This is a test of the early warning system. David, I can barely manage the fact court that we do on TikTok as it is, but I really appreciate that. And I'm always trying to like find the time to sit down and just think about like what the hell I'm doing and where I'm at. But anyway, let's move on with this. So ask if they send, and if you are in the chat, please, of Substack, let me know if you're still here. Let me know what you think about this. We are going to look into what I created yesterday. TikTok is very engaging just because of the diverse people that come into chat. Exactly, Jeff. Jeff, who are you? You seem new. You're not my friend, Jeff, are you? I mean, you are my friend because you're here and I love you. But I have a good friend whose name is Jeff. And he doesn't like his name, which is so interesting, right? When he told me he didn't like his name a few years ago and he preferred like a sort of nickname we have for him, I thought deeply about it. I thought, you know, you ever just say your name to yourself? You ever just go, Deuce, Deuce, hello, Deuce? And just think about it and see if you like it. Do you like your name or not like your name? Let me know in the chat. And Jeff, thank you so much for being here. And I'm sorry that I'm being such a little kvetchy gossip today about my own life. So ask if they've seen certain stories and then compare. So I think that's something that would be amazing to do. You know, my time yesterday, for those who are here in Substack and Twitch and YouTube, yesterday on TikTok, I had a long conversation with some young man named JD. And JD had some wild things to say about reality, and his form of argumentation and logic didn't really flow. David and Madison like their names. And I was... Oh, Jeff says, I'm orange locked on TikTok, or knee blockable on YouTube, or primitive on Discord. Jeff is all over the place. And Jason Dyer says Vance. It was not JD Vance, Jason. But I'm talking to JD, and JD's saying all kinds of wild stuff, and I wonder if JD would have even had the temerity, had the resolve, had the gumption to follow me along as I said, okay, pick one thing. He was just gish-galloping like crazy. And it's really wild. It's become a form of speech. It's become a form of discourse, is to just never finish the conversation, to never even have a conversation, to just kind of keep saying another thing and another thing and another thing. It's like watching so many pundits that eventually you speak like a pundit. You know, to spend so much time watching Charlie Kirk that you start speaking like Charlie Kirk. And so ask if they've seen certain stories, then compare, right? So I could ask them, like, show me what you're seeing about South Africa and the Schmeid Schmeno Schmeid that's not schmappening in Schmafrica. This is how you have to talk on TikTok for those people who aren't there. We're literally going to start speaking differently based on the restrictions of, or what is a line too far, says Jeff in the Substack chat. Jeff says also, and Jeff, if you want to watch on Twitch, we would prefer that, but that's okay. What I learned from Madeline says on TikTok is to give them something that's true and then challenge them. Also to have them state their values ahead of time. If Trump opposes a Supreme Court decision, would that be a line too far? Because instead of combating you, they are facing their values. I hear you, Jeff. I'm trying to do so much in the immediacy. I'm trying to do so much, like, just to, like, establish, like, I've got your back. You know, I'm here for you and I want to hear what you have to say. I feel like personally, I don't want to start with like a challenge, and I don't want to maybe root around and find the perfect like thing that we can agree is true. But maybe that's a good idea and I should listen to you, Jeff. How about that for something? This is, after all, a place in a space that is based on listening to people, even when it's not an idea that feels like comfortable in our own body. And so I have to pay attention to that and listen to that. But so I think my method of that is like, what's true to you? And then let's like, because if we can find something that's covered in both places, right? Maybe I'd use ground news actually. And I find stuff that is being covered equally by both sides. I love the suggestions, Jeff. Ask if they've seen certain stories, then compare. Be willing to question your own sources too. You build credibility by showing you're not blindly loyal to any outlet. If you say, I like Tucker, but I don't agree with everything he says, it signals thoughtfulness, not cultish devotion. And so now what I do is if someone says they like Tucker, I point out, well, he is a white supremacist. Now that may not go down smooth, but the reality is he's a white supremacist. That's the literal reality. And now you may not want to believe that reality, but I feel like I also have to be out here representing everyone who's non-MAGA and speaking up for reality. I hear you, Jeff. You do need to find middle ground. Absolutely. And I do for many, many years, going back to 2016, I've been paying attention to the voices and people who talk about finding that common ground, finding shared values, right? That's the trick. That's what Madeline was talking about. Jeff says, I like the way Tucker dresses is the best I can say about Tucker Carlson. Well, that's even better than me. I'm not really a bow tie guy, but, go for it. So be willing to question your own sources too. Focus on common ground values. I think we both care about making sure people aren't being lied to no matter what side they're on. Don't try to win, try to connect. The goal is not to convert your relative. It is to stay in relationship, model what you wish the media did, engage with good faith, check your facts, and care about the whole country, not just your team. If only that was true of all of us, and especially our MAGA friends and loved ones. Now, one idea I've been toying around with recently is this idea of taking in the year 2000 from Conan O'Brien and start making videos that just go, if the media was liberal, and then being like, if the media was liberal, we would see lots more coverage of criminal justice system and its problems. For information on that, go to the Marshall Project, which isn't liberal. It just cares about criminal justice reform. You know what I mean? That could be a fun new way. And would people be upset with me for stealing that from Conan? I would go, remember that in the year 2000? Who remembers that? Raise your hand in the chats. in the year 2000. And he'd have the flashlight under his chin. In the year 2000. Right? Do you remember that? And so I go, if the media were liberal, if the media was liberal. And then I go, if the media was liberal, because I have somewhere in a repository of mine a big list of things if the media was liberal. Jason Dyer says he remembers it. Madison says her parents reference that. They do? They say in the year 2000? That's funny. Oh my God, I'm so old. You're so young. My parents reference that. Holy bajolis, Yaxatoli Khomeini. Now here's the deal. So now we've looked at what it suggests for MAGA folks. Now let's go behind the scenes into a Google Doc of Rev Deuce. And then here's what I wrote down. It says, suggest a media diet swap or shared challenge. Offer to read read or watch the same piece of content and discuss it together. For example, you pick a segment from PBS NewsHour, ProPublica, or Reuters. They pick something from Fox or the Daily Wire, then talk about how the facts are framed, not just what is said. So I guess we're talking about the same piece of content. Oh, okay, yeah, the same story, the same issue. Framing it as a shared learning exercise can reduce defensiveness. Now that would be quite the exercise. So what if we started doing that with our MAGA friends and loved ones? Now let's get to what everyone has been waiting for with bated breath. I know all your breath is bated, and so you may be about to pass out, because my understanding of bated breath is holding your breath. So I'm so sorry if you have passed out. I should be mindful of that or I'll lose viewers. But so, healthy MAGA media diet. I wrote this. I wrote, welcome fact-based pro-democracy news and political commentary for the MAGA community. And you know what was so fit? It says, let's all discuss, oh my God, Madison, let's all discuss politics from the same fact-based reality. Does that seem pejorative? I hope that's good for MAGAs. After all, there's only one set of facts. Is that okay? Can we say that? And then it says, the rest is just spin. Start here before upping your pro-democracy media diet to our other list, the news. And then I started, what did I start writing? I also think I started trying to write in, oh, look at this, guys. Here's my notes. This is behind the scenes with Rev Deuce. So many in our society struggle with being overweight, right? I tried to put it in my mind. I chat GPT'd myself with my own human brain. And I was like, often due to circumstances out of their control, people are unable to source the kind of nutritious information. So many in our society struggle with an unhealthy media diet, right? Often due to circumstances out of their control, people are unable to source the kind of nutritious information that will allow them to achieve the understanding necessary to be a high-performing voter. So then I came up with this idea of a high-performing voter. This is funny, and it's a weird concept, and we got to figure it out. High-performing voters get the most of what they wanted from the people they choose to represent them in Congress. I could just say represent them. Their policy to vote ratio is expressed similarly to a batting average in baseball. That could mean a 100 average could be very good. 1 in every 10 votes for this person would yield some kind of policy of which you approve. So this could apply to MAGA and non-MAGA, right? And we could start to evaluate our politicians based on, high-performing votes, right? There could probably be an OPS type figure, which would also factor in if they wrote a bill, sponsored a bill, even pushed the Overton window in the direction of your area of highest concern. This would be very, very hard to quantify, right? Anyway, so I started writing about that. And I thought I created I thought about a video. I created a healthy diet for MAGA media, for MAGA. And then the problem is I started making it, and then I was totally screwed. Because I made the list, I asked ChatGPT for help because I don't know what MAGA folks read that's fact-based. And I started making the list, and then I had to enter, okay, now eliminate any who have spoken against the reality of trans existence, right? And that eliminated a bunch of people off the list because I'm not going to put hate and division that doesn't agree with reality and science. You can be conservative and accept that trans people exist, right? That's possible. So this is all that I got on the list, you guys. There's four things. One is a curmudgeon guy that I think they would all call a never Trumper, which is fine, I guess. Another is this lady who runs the Bulwark, which, like, I don't know even what her deal is. I don't know what she says, but ChatGPT told me that she didn't outwardly hate trans people, so I went with it. ProPublica, because I think, like, ProPublica writes in a way that just exposes corruption. They don't do stuff like what New Republic does, which, like, New Republic is fact-based and persuasive, and so I put it on my list of the news because it's not national media, it's fact-based, and yes, it is progressive, and yes, it does not care for Donald Trump. No one should care for Donald Trump. Donald Trump is historically corrupt and unfit. And so I have ProPublica and then Christian Science Monitor. Now let's just see what this list looks like in practice. I had Reuters on there because they, obviously they won't like the AP because they've been told not to like the AP. But so I had Reuters on there, but Reuters posts every second apparently, and so Reuters dominated the whole thing. So I would put Reuters back once it, figured itself out, or once the list had more stuff. So Christian Science Monitor, student loan borrowers face turmoil as collection push begins. ProPublica, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said prepackaged foods have mass poisoned tribal communities, but the Trump administration ended a program that tribal food banks relied on for fresh, locally produced food important to their traditions and cultures. I don't know. How does that, I don't believe that our MAGA friends and loved ones are a monolith. What if, would they like that? Christian Science Monitor, Canada welcomes King Charles III. ProPublica, this is about that substitute teacher dragging a kid. But it goes back to federal civil rights officials, right? Because, like, this is what our MAGA friends and loved ones voted for, was the elimination of lots of civil rights investigations by the DOJ, right? All of the investigations into police departments for violating people's rights have been ended by the Pam Bondi DOJ. Pam Bondi being a provably corrupt individual, right? Tom Nichols. So this is like from last night when I was putting this together. I was up late. So already this list kind of stinks like poo-poo caca. I absolutely am going to do that, David. That's what I was planning to do. So I wonder if anybody here has other ideas. And the other sticking point is that they have to be on this. They have to be on Blue Sky, whoever it is. And so again, MAGA media, MAGA friendly media is not really going to be MAGA friendly media. First of all, that is fact-based and not anti-trans is hard to find. And then especially if that exists, it's going to, like, they suggested someone named Brad Palumbo, and then I looked up Brad Palumbo, and he is a pretty anti-trans person, although he's starting to figure out that, like, Donald Trump is coming for all LGBTQ plus people, and he's not liking it. But it's hard to vet. Like, I don't want to have the wrong person. So that's one of the things that I wanted to do with all of you today, was show you that we are working on a healthy MAGA media diet list. And if you have suggestions in the chats, I would love to know them. If you have other ideas, I would love them, because this is a place of ideas. And you are human beings with ideas. And isn't that so beautiful about the world? So I would be remiss at this time if I did not point out an event tomorrow night that you should all go to. It is an event of my nonprofit that I helped to co-found, the Media and Democracy Project. So we have an event. I'm pulling it up. It is with Ann Telnays. Ann Telnays is a political cartoonist. I guess they refer to themselves as editorial cartoonists. Right on. Cool. And I can handle that name change, and I accept it immediately. Hey, Emma, what's going on? What's up, gamers? Says Emma. It's so cute. That's so funny. What's up, gamers? What's up, Fact Warriors? So a conversation with Ann Telnace, the power of editorial cartoonists for democracy. Now, maybe some people here are artists. Ann is great at matching her hair to her scarf, which is incredible. So she's a Pulitzer Prize winning editorial cartoonist, and she's going to come and speak with our group tomorrow night. I will be there. It's online. You can sign up for the event here. So you go to mediaanddemocracyproject.org and you click on events at the top. Okay, so I want you to be there. That would be so great to have you. We're going to have hundreds of people there, so you should be one of them. And then what I wanted to do today, because I wanted to check in on this myself, and so I like to do that. I like to check in on stuff. Oh, I wish I have all these tabs up here that you don't see, and the point is that eventually I will go back. Here, I'll just delete this from Mike Johnson calling. He says 300,000 missing migrant kids is a modern-day slavery operation. Yeah, right, you big weirdo. Anyway, I'll delete that. I just got to delete some of these posts. And what's this? This is, oh, that's the Christianity Today editor. Now, is Christianity Today something that I can put on the list? Let's see. Is Christianity Today a fact-based news outlet? Fact-based and reputable with the realm of religious journalism. Here's a breakdown. Fact-checking standards. While not a traditional hard news outlet, it applies journalistic standards to its reporting, editorial transparency, coverage breadth, respected by mainstream outlets. Articles and analysis from Christianity Today are cited by mainstream outlets, the New York Times, NPR, especially on issues involving evangelicals. Evangelical center-right and generally reflects a theologically conservative worldview, but it does not operate as a partisan organ. Called for Trump's removal in 2019. Okay. It's not a general news source, though, so maybe I don't put it in there. Okay, thanks for going on that journey with me, everybody. Now, okay, this is interesting. This means ChatGPT is getting to know me because I tell it like, it gave me a bunch of ideas for MAGA media, healthy MAGA media, but it gave me ideas like Real Clear Politics, which is owned by the U-Lines, and it gave me ideas like Reason Magazine, which is also funded by right-wing billionaires who want to launder anti-climate action ideas into the public. So, like, it's true that Reason can sometimes have good articles, but the reality is I want to be pure in my information integrity, and I don't want to use outlets that were created as propaganda, outlets to sneak in ideas about climate that accord with what a fossil fuel billionaire would want the public to think about them. So there's that. But so what I wanted to do today also, and we're going to limit the time that we spend in this space increasingly, and that's nothing against all of you beautiful people on Substack and in all these places. But what I wanted to do today was I wanted to go to Substack, and I wanted to look at this one thing called I think it's called Opinion Today. And Opinion Today is a place that I've wanted to go and check out regularly, but I don't. And so I think it's cool because, like, I want to know what the people are thinking. And now I gave myself a note that I want to remind myself of who the best pollsters, polls are problematic, but who the best polling and statistics people are, because I know who they are. There's people like Sam Bonier, I think his name is. And I want to start consulting them and maybe recommending them to people. But so do you think that the federal, so let's just click on the latest edition of Opinion Today. I do not, why is it, okay. So this is from today because it's called Opinion Today, I guess. So good for them. So COVID vaccines, President's health, and the war in Ukraine, May 23rd to 26, 2025, Economist YouGov poll. So this is a Economist YouGov poll that covers whether Americans think Biden or Trump has been more transparent about their health as president, How many Americans think Democrats actively try to conceal from the public information about Biden's health during his presidency? How many Americans want to receive a new COVID-19 vaccine? How many Americans think the government should take no role in COVID vaccines? How Republican sympathy for Ukraine in its war with Russia has changed since 2022. Emma, hilarious. Now, what's also interesting is what I wanted to do yesterday was show that guy my chart about Signalgate, because he was like obsessed with that media only affects the minds of non-MAGA people. You may have caught me smiling during that, Jeff and everyone else, but he was talking about that. But so he was saying that media only affects the minds of non-MAGA people, and then I brought up Signalgate because I have that chart that shows that in 1 week, Republicans swung wildly in their opinions about Signalgate. And so Signalgate, smiling is wonderful, Emma. Signalgate, I got to just get that chart up again. What roles do Americans think the government should play when it comes to COVID-19 vaccines? Do you think that the federal government should or should not do the following? Okay. Track and report data on COVID-19 infections and vaccinations rates. They should, 73%. Make COVID vaccines available for free to everyone. The public agrees, 70%. Fund research and development of COVID-19 vaccines, 63%. Anyone approve COVID-19 vaccines through a government agency, 56%, right? We're like literally going down the trust spiral and the lack of trust spiral. Government agency, no. Everything else has to do with government agencies, but if government agency wasn't in the question, they got higher approval. Take no role in COVID-19 vaccines and leave decisions to individuals. 55% think that they should. This is wildly incongruous. Emma says, I think vaccines keep mass infection under control. Believing anything else is just reading the medical industry from a fear-based lens. Well, Emma, sure. I mean, people are doing the best they can with what they have. And for a lot of us, we are consulting pundits. We are consulting influencers who are telling us, about seed oils or the healthy aspects of nicotine, like go out and get that Zyn. Who is Zyn funding, right, in the influencer space? Because there's plenty of people I know who are doing nicotine because they think it has health benefits. That's real. And I mean, maybe it does, but where's the scientific studies done over the course of years? Take no role in COVID-19 vaccines and leave decisions to individuals. Allow K through 12 schools to require COVID-19 vaccinations for their students. That's very low, which is interesting. Uh-oh, Emma, you got nailed by we're going to lose Emma because of the Streamlabs bot. Mandate COVID-19 vaccination for all adults. It says 22%. So consumers expect decreases in federal benefits, reduced Medicare, and lower taxes. The Federal Reserve is saying that average expectations of decreases in housing assistance, federal student aid, subsidized preschool education, federal welfare benefits, Social Security benefits, and paid parental leave all increased sharply in April to series highs. The average perceived likelihood of a reduction also increased to its highest since April 2017. Well, what else was happening in April 2017? It's basically we're mimicking the beginning of Trump as well. Now I feel like Emma is just telling the Streamlabs bot to F off. So federal welfare benefits, average percent change of policy chance of policy change in the next 12 months. Let's go to the demographics. Oh, I can't. U.S. consumer confidence partially rebounded in May. Okay, now who judges that and who's in charge of measuring that? Because we know. Are you a moderator? Maybe you can. So we've got consumer confidence index. It rebounded a little bit in May. It was very low during COVID. It went down to COVID levels as Trump took office in terms of consumer confidence. Ipsos Consumer Tracker, half of Americans are uncertain what is being impacted by tariffs. Healthcare catches voters' attention. Nearly half of voters approve of Trump's job performance. Wild. Unchanged from last week, but up from a 45% low in April. This is from Morning Consult. And the highest since mid-March. About 3 in 5 voters said they had recently seen, read, or heard at least something about healthcare, the largest share recorded since he took office. Notably, 40% of voters said that information was negative. That information was negative. Majority disapprove of Trump's handling of the presidency and the economy. That's from Navigator Research. This Navigator Research report covers the latest perceptions of President Trump, including what news Americans are hearing about him and how his policies are seen as contributing to current issues facing the country. His overall economic and approval ratings are underwater by double digits. So on February 3rd, we'll say he was at net neutral approval. And now he is at, what is the difference between these two numbers? Now he is at -10 to -14 approval. Americans are searching for common ground. This poll finds it. Washington Post poll says politicians underestimate how much Americans agree on these policy issues. Business tax credits for families and medical leave are widely appealing. Do you support or oppose the federal government providing tax credits and funding for family and medical leave programs, especially for small businesses? Trump voters are right there with Harris voters on this issue. So this seems very arcane for me to bring up with my fellow MAGA loved ones and neighbors. Also, I don't understand why the bot's going crazier than usual. This post is for paid subscribers. Okay, I am not a paid subscriber, but I appreciate the preview on Opinion Today of Opinion. So it seems that there's common ground to be found between our MAGA loved ones and everyone else about business tax credits for families, especially for small businesses. Basically, the government subsidizing family and medical leave. Now, here's something that I want to show everyone, and I want everyone to be a fact warrior about. First of all, always go and share my videos. Look at this sexy guy. The bias. So choose newsrooms that tell you they're biased, rooms that stress how unbiased they are.
You will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.
And you do not trust newsrooms that tell you about how unbiased these are. Oh, look, I have 0 views on all my videos. Let's do a refresh. Oh, thank God. Still low numbers. Now, anyway, let's go here to favorites, and let's check out some stuff that we were looking at. You know, I just left a comment.
Biological male
here,
high school
Fox
track
News.
athlete.
I mean, this is insane. So this is what I wrote. I want to just show you this. I said, are folks in the comments worrying more about this than the open corruption of the president? Because that's the point of scapegoating this child and the other like 30 or so students like them around the country. There are less than 10 trans athletes competing in NCAA athletics outside of 500 and outside. I guess I meant to say out of a total, anyway, of 510,000 athletes. Meaning the president is ending cancer research, rolling back protections for our air and water, enriching himself, abrogating portions of the Constitution, and spreading wild disinformation. Meanwhile, I know my MAGA friends like to say that they can die more. Oh, geez, I didn't edit this. They can do more than one thing at a time, but it feels like preventing a Christian nationalist theocracy is such a bigger priority for all of us than this, right? Fox News just continuing to hammer the idea. Oh my God, what is this? XXXY Athletics? Who is this weirdo who goes around filming high school kids? Jeez Louise. Now, we thought this was pretty great, and I probably reposted it.
Interesting race.
Yes. We want you to go and repost Bill Barr saying this stuff. Okay, this is what I really want you to repost.
Why did you
everybody.
sneak this thing into the budget bill about the courts? To give the current administration unlimited power.
The audio only comes out of one channel,
Nope,
but this
you're
is
thinking
really
about the
important
Supreme
for
Court
people to
case around
understand.
national injunctions. We wanted to hedge our bets, so we did something worse. You're saying that the administration can ignore court rulings and the court effectively can't do anything about it? Yeah, I'm clearly misunderstanding this because that...
So one thing that's happening is that we have now the establishment of this unitary executive theory that they've been trying to push for a very long time. You know, Brett Kavanaugh, Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh in the early 2000s was working on this idea. They wanted to give Bush these powers of unitary executive theory, the reason being so that they could advance the Christian nationalist aims that they had, right? If you make the president into a monarch, basically, who is beholden to no one and who can destroy all independent agencies, then you can advance your theocratic aims that much quicker and that much success. And so this is all part of this. So this is something that's in the big. I'm not going to say it. This is something in the new bill that they named in a propaganda way. And this is section like 70302 of this bill. And it basically means that our court system no longer works. And so it's in this bill. And so will the Senate remove it before they vote on it? And will it succeed in the Senate?
Nope, you're thinking about the Supreme
Here
Court
we go.
case.
Let's watch this whole thing.
Why did you sneak this thing into the
Very
budget
important.
bill about the courts? To give the current administration unlimited power. Didn't we already make this video? Nope, you're thinking about the Supreme Court case around national injunctions. We wanted to hedge our bets, so we did something worse. You're saying that the administration can ignore court rulings and the court effectively can't do anything about it? Yeah. I'm clearly misunderstanding this because that's insane. No, I will happily explain it to you because it's very clever. Oh, I'm gonna hate this, aren't I? You know all those executive orders that the courts were saying were unconstitutional? Ending birthright citizenship, deporting people to prisons in El Salvador. If the administration were to ignore those rulings now, they'd be in contempt, and judges would have a series of things that they could do to try to get the administration to comply. But this bill says that specifically for these national injunctions, courts can't use their already approved budgets to do any of those things. So basically you're just like cutting off the payroll, like you can't pay clerks to do paperwork, you can't pay U.S. Marshals to go apprehend people. Exactly. We have neutered the courts through the budget. House Republicans already passed this? Yeah, but it gets worse. Oh, come on. This is specifically for cases where a bond wasn't issued at ruling. What does that mean? This is a oversimplification, but sometimes judges will say, hey, even though I'm ruling in your favor, and this is unconstitutional, you still have to give me a big pile of money to hold on to for a while, just in case this gets turned over. Me? I have to give them money? Yeah, in case your lawsuit causes any damages. So basically, this makes it impossible for everyday people to take on cases like this, but it gets worse. But just spit it out. It also applies retroactively. So you're saying that all the cases that they lost already to federal judges and circuit courts, they can just ignore those? This applies to every case. The Muslim ban from the first term, the mifepristone protection from 2023, every federal case. Holy shit. So this is worse than the SCOTUS case in some ways. Yeah, and it gets less good. Just say all the bad things now. Do you understand how appeals work? Yeah, if you lose a case, you appeal it to a higher level court and you hope that they overturn the lower level court's ruling. And if national injunctions can't be enforced, the only way to get a national ruling against what we're doing is to get it to the Supreme Court. Shut the fuck up. If the administration loses a case and they're told it's unconstitutional, normally they would want to appeal it to the Supreme Court to get it overturned. Yep. But now they don't want SCOTUS to hear it because they can just ignore the national injunction as long as SCOTUS doesn't issue a national ruling. I told you, it is genius. Do you have an erection? Oh, I'm surprised you can see it. Why did you sneak this thing into the budget bill about the
so
courts?
that is
to
funny.
give the current administration
So that's,
unlimited power.
you know, look, you got to make them laugh, right? Isn't that from, what is it, Singing in the Rain? Make them laugh, and then, you know, who's it? What's that guy? I went to college with him. He once raised his hand at a Barnard radio meeting. What's his name? He's got 3 names. Anyway, make him laugh. I think he did it on SNL or something. He just wanted to show off. He said, I could do a backflip. Watch. But so we think that that video is so important. So I want you to go to our TikTok if you have a TikTok, and I want you to be Fact Warrior and repost that. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, yes, he used the word bent, like in the way that a smart person uses it in his, he raised his hand in the Barnard meeting. I still remember it to this day. I try not to focus on celebrity. I don't really care. I've seen lots of celebrities in my day as an actor. It's really funny. One of my friends mentions every single time that he sees Bobby Cannavale. And at one point years ago, there was a moratorium. He and his daughter go to the same school. Not my friend. My friend is an adult male who does not go to a Montessori school for 6-year-olds. But what I'm saying is that Bobby Cannavale and my friends both have kids that go to this school. But even before that, even before they went to the same school, he would just tell us he'd say, I just passed Bobby Cannavale. And we would not say anything because we don't care. And then it was like the 9th time that he said in the chat. It was the 9th time that he was like, just past Bobby Cannavale outside of, Caputo's, and no one said anything. And then an hour later, he was like, I'm going to stop telling you guys when I mention Bobby, when I see Bobby Cannavale, like, sorry. It was so funny because who cares? Anyway, so thank you for the Joseph Gordon-Levitt tip. But so we think that that's really important for people to understand. I mean, I want to believe that we live in a world where the Senate will not allow this to happen. I want to believe that the Senate will remove that from the bill before they, vote on it or pass it. Maybe that's not even how it works. Look, I'm an information nutritionist. I am not a congressional nutritionist, but I know a thing or two about a thing or two. So I also want you to go and share this Bill Burr piece of persuasive information.
Interesting race. And then sadly, I saw these clips of ICE going in and just fucking ripping these people out of their homes, and mothers and grandmothers and children screaming, no warrant. If fellow U.S. citizens are like, what are you doing? They intimidate them, arrest them and shit. This is like Gestapo type of stuff. And it just blows my mind that there's a certain ugly segment of the American population that's enjoying watching these families getting ripped out of their homes. And you somehow think that America is going to be better if this is done. So what? So they took those people out. They're taking these brown people out that are living week to week. And somehow you feel like if they get them out of the country, your boss who's not paying you a living wage will suddenly start paying you a living wage. What would be a great thing is everybody read up on the history of these that have run these companies. They have not wanted to pay Americans a living wage ever. They've never wanted to pay us a living wage. And the only reason why they do is because there's laws. And the only reason why there is laws is because people died during protests to start unions. And the fucking psychos that run these companies didn't want to pay a living wage, and eventually they took their factories out of the country so they could go back to not paying a living wage in the form of sweatshop labor. And now they're eventually working their way towards this. The same billionaires that didn't want to pay in the 1800s, way back to the feudal system, they've never wanted to pay you. They don't want to pay you, and they just keep blaming people that don't look like you, that don't have any money or any sort of control over your life, and my people keep believing it. It's unfucking believable. Immigrants are not the reason why you can't make your rent. You can't make your rent because the guy that fucking employs you is not paying you enough money. He's not keeping up, or she's not keeping up with the rate of inflation. The fucking thing is there's enough money, there's enough food, there's enough shelter for everybody. But these super rich cunts want too much for themselves. And they're heartless.
They don't bleep that?
They don't give a And when you start to tell them, hey, you're not paying us enough money, they go, oh, look at those fucking brown people over there. If we could just get them to stop jumping over a wall or get them out of their houses, if we could tear apart their families without a warrant, then I would somehow magically start paying you enough money where you could live comfortably and have health insurance. Unreal. And I got to tell you, the fucking people that are just watching this stuff, and you don't think that eventually, if you just co-sign
Oh my God. Well,
interesting race.
I wanted to see if I could.
And then sadly, I saw these clips of ICE going in and just
I wanted to
ripping
see
these
if I could
people
just
out of their
advance
homes
it, and I ruined
mothers
it.
and
But
grandmothers.
So this video is great, okay? This speech is persuasive. I do not like that it says MAGA, explains MAGA to us it's a cult, right? I don't think that that's how you win over our MAGA loved ones and friends, by accusing them of being in a cult. I just don't think that that works. I don't know. You tell me. I mean, you know, if you're having an intervention for a particular family member who is actually in a, like, you know, Nexium type cult or whatever it is that what it's called? Nexium is also like a proton pump inhibitor for your gut. But what is it called? Nexium? Anyway, you know, you would have an individual sit down with them in an intervention. Like, we should not be trying to stage an intervention for every MAGA person that we encounter, in the sense of like, hey, this is going to be hard. You have to sit down. You can't leave the room. You're in a cult. I don't think that's going to work, you know? So Nibish 990, I'm going to assume that that's just Jeff. Anyway, Nibish 990, yeah. I mean, I don't want to tell anybody that they're in a cult. Everyone's doing the best they can with what they have. So if anybody has this somewhere else, I would love for you to DM me that or get me that some other way. But for the time being, I mean, it is a extremely persuasive way of thinking and talking about the situation. And so I would love for you to share that. Now, one last piece just for fun. You know, and then there's also great reporting happening everywhere. There's terrible music choices on that reporting. Now, again, Courier Newsroom is associated with the Democratic Party. I'm not going to run away from that fact, but they are a fact-based newsroom. And so, you know, it's like if Fox News was going to be fact-based all the time and not, you know, use ad hominems to like attack every person in politics on the right. You know, it is a fact-based newsroom, so I do consult it and I do recommend it to people. It is not on our list of the news because of its specific attachment to the Democratic Party, especially during election seasons. But their newsrooms are fact-based, so if you want to consult them, you absolutely should. But we've got these pardons are unreal. The Chrisleys were pardoned last night. Todd Chrisley and his wife, who committed $30 million in fraud, the same things that Donald Trump has been accused of, if not convicted of, right? His convictions are based on inflating his assets and then deflating his assets, inflating his assets for loan purposes and deflating his assets for tax purposes, right? That's fraud. And so Todd Chrisley and his wife did this to the tune of $30 million. They got 12 years and 7 years, respectively, in federal prison and, you know, pardoned. Their daughter started speaking at their events, at Trump events, and pardoned. Anyway, what I wanted people to see is this, like, the new reality that we're in. Everybody's familiar with Google VO or whatever. Yes, it does, Sean. But so I don't know if you all have seen this Google VO3 or whatever. It's the new, it's everywhere on the internet. So it's the new Google AI video creator, and people are having it do crazy things. Like, I saw one that was like it was like doing a bunch of different influencer challenges. And so you see a guy standing by a volcano and he's like, the first ever like dive into an active volcano, like full send. And then he jumps into a volcano, which is horrifying. But so we're going to just like be inundated with so much more realistic, news anchors, realistic pieces of information that are disinformation. And, if our friends and loved ones are already believing that there is a white genocide in South Africa just based on a meme, or just based on one guy in one political party where they have multiple political parties chanting a historic anti-Boer chant because they were suffering and being jailed and living in an apartheid state, and there's one guy in one political party who continues to do that, who is labeled a firebrand by media. Sean, what is that a quote from? That's funny. But so, we are kind of screwed. And so lots of people, there was one video that the Google thing someone had created with the Google thing, which you have to pay like $250 a month. So any foreign nation can pay $250 a month and use this extremely sophisticated Google generation thing. I've already started to see it online as well. Not going to lie, sometimes I get sent cute ladies accounts on my social media. And I came across cute ladies dancing in unison, and they looked totally real. And then I looked at, they were doing some kind of hand clapping thing, and I looked at one of their hands, and it kept kind of disappearing into their thigh, when they went down to their thigh to do the hand clapping. Sean, you sent a link, and I guess I have links turned off, but I could only, it was, their hips were moving in absolute unison, so it looked a little funky, but they're going to figure out how to just make everything look real that is fake. So one extrusion of that was someone made Google VO3 videos where they were just talking to people. They're isn't it crazy that we're prompts? They were having these philosophical AI conversations, it looked like real people being we're fake. What's our, we're just an input in a universe far away, is how each of them kind of ended. And then, so this is kind of brilliant of this guy. And then in the comments, it's debated as to whether it's real. And it's also, he probably did this with a bunch of people until they gave weird enough reactions like this. And also this guy, I think the clerk at this gas station says solipsism or solipsist, which is this guy's going to grad school and just working at a you never know what people are doing with their lives. So, no matter what job someone has, everybody is deserving of the expectation that they are brilliant. So check this out, everybody.
Oh shit. By all means, man. Hey.
Come on out,
Hey,
Mr. Wallet.
can you believe we're prompts?
Say
We're what?
Prompts?
prompts. Following 30, 40% lives. Give me more info. What do you mean?
Can you believe we're prompts?
A little bit.
Hmm.
I'm 30%. What do you mean? Like a proxy on the ballot? What do you mean?
Do you mean a prompt is in
Google
Like
VO3.
NPCs? Oh, wait, what?
that's what
AI.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm pretty sure I'm an NPC at this point, right?
Yeah.
No.
May I
there's
have
no,
two grape?
Are you becoming a solipsist, where you're the only real person, everybody else is fake?
He said two grape? Is that
We
I don't
We
know what
are
that reference
prompts.
was, and it wasn't
Yeah,
solipsism.
we are
side
prompts.
quest? Little side quest
I
here and
mean,
there.
you just
Side
dude,
quest.
I wanted to RPG life for so long, gain.
Oh, you have been. You have been.
Gain 10 experience.
It's all the
points.
same. You're within the realm.
Bye.
You're prompted to say.
Bye. Hey, nice meeting you guys.
I love that clerk at the end being you're prompted to say that. But so let me see if I can find any of those examples, just so people know what we're talking about and they can get scared. So Google VO3. So let's see some real ones. So here's one, right? This is all fake, what I'm about to show
do
you.
the first plunge into an active volcano. Let's send it. We spent $50 million to rebuild the Titanic just to sink it again. Last person to abandon ship gets a Lambo.
I covered my entire body in compost and waited to see what started growing.
Running for my life on North Sentinel Island. Day 3. Should have picked Bali. All right. I've sealed my head in this plastic box, and I'm gonna try to read the entire dictionary before I pass out. flying into North Korea with a lawn chair and 1,000 party balloons. Don't try this at home.
I'm about to survive 100 days in the African savannah, only eating and drinking what my body already gave up. Basically, the circle of life.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're cooking with plutonium-239. It's hot, it's dangerous, and it's definitely illegal.
I'm doing K2 the honest way. Alone, unprepared, and in a straight line. Leave a comment for the search team. About to do the first...
Like, humans are never, like, your average human is never going to be able to discern what's real. And that is starting now, right? We thought about that ahead of the 2024 election. There was a video that was made, absolutely. There was a video that was, and so now we learn that Congress, or sorry, the Trump administration wants to make it illegal for states to regulate AI. States' rights, am I right? But so, you know, because we have this corrupt administration, you know, like, and because of the world we live in where our MAGA friends and loved ones who I engage with on TikTok believe that, you know, Biden was doing a censorship regime, you know, that was also kind of to set up everything. That was to set up that, like, Donald Trump wouldn't be doing a censorship regime, whatever it is that he did. That's to set up Donald Trump. No, of course he wouldn't regulate harmful things like AI, because that's not, we don't want that. We don't want any kind of censorship, right? But of course we do. We want our air to be clean. We want our water to be clean and safe to drink. We want our children to, you know, not get lead poisoning or mercury poisoning. And we want our friends and loved ones to not succumb to disinformation that will, like Sean mentioned, like might end up killing people. You know, and so ahead of the 2024 election, Secretary of State of Arizona, Adrian Fontes, who was leading the charge of, like, letting people understand what challenges we were all up against as voters in a democracy, he sanctioned a video to be made of him that was AI to show people that they may fall prey to fake videos, deep fakes of elected officials saying things in the immediacy of the election, because I'm sure that, like, aspects of this technology that could make things look pretty real were available then. And so I'm going to try to show you that really quick. Adrian Fontes, Secretary of State, deep fake video 2024. So he sanctioned it. They could ruin any celebrity so easily. Yes, we already have our MAGA friends and loved ones, and plenty of non-MAGA friends and loved ones who are believing basically anything that they see online, as long as it affirms their priors. We know that foreign adversaries like Iran and China and Russia are attacking us from all sides in the information war, right? We know that they are making memes that say, like, you know, progressives for Trump, or they're making memes that say, like, you know, free Palestine, and then they have that same meme or that same account say, like, all Democrats are the same, and, you know, like there's no point in voting, and just basically building anti-democracy sentiment, because they don't care if we like Kamala Harris or not. And many of us don't, right? They don't care if we like Joe Biden or not. They don't care if we are a fan of Chuck Schumer or Cory Booker. They don't care if we hate Chuck Schumer or Cory Booker. They want us to not care at all. And they're succeeding. So if you encounter someone in your life who says there's no point in voting, there's no point in engaging, you know, you have to fight that. So let's watch this. And then what I want to do, this is from exactly a year ago. And then what I want to do is one last thing. So here's this video. I don't want you to, here. Can I do this? No, I don't want this. I want to click on it and the thing. Close. Oh, now I can't. Oh, God damn it. Hold, please. I guess I have to redo it. Okay, here's the video down here.
This is the first.
And here's an ad first. But so anyway, that's what I'm talking about.
More party.
Hello, this is a
More ads, okay? Hold please for ads.
public service advisory featuring an AI version of Arizona Secretary of State Adrian Fontes. This video was produced as part of our 2024 statewide election security tabletop exercise. It was created with both the consent and cooperation of the real Secretary Fontes, which again is not me. I'm an AI impersonation of him.
Court, we look to the weapons of our enemies and we train against them as much as possible. AI is not a new weapon. It's an amplifier and a magnifier of mis and disinformation. What I wanted to do is make sure that our elections officials were familiar with it. We had processes to deal with it and address it within each of our counties, because our elections are run at the county level as well. We also had a tabletop exercise among several for elections officials for the media, so that our media partners could know how to react to it and recognize it. And in June, we're doing tabletop exercises for law enforcement. So the way that we're dealing with it is lowering the excitement about it, taking away the newness of it early, so that our folks will be able to not just recognize it, but understand how to deal with it as quickly as possible.
So that's like called responsible leadership, right? And instead, you have Donald Trump's regime talking about how they're not going to regulate AI at all. And they're just going to let it be a free-for-all because it serves their purposes. Tell me about Donald Trump and his administration relaxing regulations on AI content. And then I'm going to go. And then, David, I think I'm going to stick to the plan of doing it in the afternoons. You got any more of that quality leadership? Well, look, it's really focused in one party. So, okay, January 23rd. Order titled Removing Barriers to American Leadership in Artificial Intelligence rescinded previous policies deemed restrictive to AI advancement. It mandates the development of a national AI action plan to bolster U.S. leadership in AI technologies. Exactly. Hear that, Sean? My buddy Sean has recorded a video of his child just giving like it was the cutest video of him watching me. And he was like, I was like, can I share this? Because I just like thought it was so cute. I had the presence of mind to ask, and Sean was like, no. And it makes total sense. You should have put your kids online, but everybody does. Export controls adjustment. The administration has indicated intentions to repeal the AI diffusion rule, a regulation from the previous administration that governed the export of advanced computing chips. This move aims to simplify the framework. Okay. Okay, here it is. A bid to bar states from regulating AI is getting pushback. So, like, increasingly, we will become balkanized, right? That is something people have talked about. We will become balkanized into the states that are red and the states that are blue. There will be an increasing, like migration of people from areas where there are, martial law and military justice type crackdowns. This is probably going to occur to some degree if we don't all put an end to what's happening with Trump. It's only going to get worse, right? He is now basically achieving his goals of being a monarch able to do whatever he wants. And clearly he is not in charge. And I'm not saying that in some conspiratorial way. It's just like Donald Trump cares about only himself and enriching himself. He doesn't give a crap about their Christian nationalist aims other than that they helped him to get into the presidency where he is now enriching himself and his family, right? And so, like, the people who are in charge, whose goal is being achieved through the, through the hulking shell of Donald Trump, are all about giving all the power to the executive branch, and they are succeeding, and they're basically almost done. And the, freaks, sorry to say it, on the Supreme Court, like Clarence Thomas, like Samuel Alito, cannot wait to usher this all in. Samuel Alito, of course, famous for flying an insurrection flag while being a Supreme Court justice. Famous also for going back in time to middle of the last millennia jurisprudence that is not even American jurisprudence in order to find precedent for his unconstitutional rulings. So anyway, a bid to bar states from regulating AI is getting pushback. Well, that's good to know at least that it's getting pushback. So Nebish says, I think when they say bolster AI tech for government use, they are talking more about giving funds to Palantir. Absolutely. And then Madison says, yeah, actually, LMAO, I took a video of Jacob watching you once and decided not to send it on Discord because I don't actually know all of these people in there. Of course. But what's amazing is that somehow I am a children's program. And so that's the best part ever. So look, we've had a great time today, I think. It's 10:30. I've been telling myself I got to spend less time on here so that I can make more videos and write more articles. I think videos are the way. I should probably consult with ChatGPT. You know what's interesting about ChatGPT? I found this out for the first time. They have a drop-down menu. I don't know if this costs me more money, but it's like, look at this. I have the option to use more advanced reasoning. And then I have the option to do advanced reasoning even faster. Why isn't that just the default? What is going on? So I can click on this? Oh, great. But what does that mean, Sean? Why doesn't it just do that? More models. That's right. More models. Great for quick code. Great for writing and exploring ideas. Why isn't it all that? Oh, it's way more resource intensive. I see. Like it's like just throwing more gallons of water into. Who spelled government that way? Who did? Me? Where? Stop it. I spread love the Brooklyn way, but I write government the American way. So anyway, everybody, we have been having fun checking out the horror show of our new AI overlords. We've been looking at what public opinion is. Apparently, business and tax credits for family and medical leave are widely appealing both to Trump and Harris voters. So that is an inroad that you can make with your family, your MAGA loved ones. We've been consulting Opinion Today, which is a Substack that collates a bunch of different opinion polls from reputable outlets, and so you can get a feeling for what's going on in the world by consulting Opinion Today. And we started the day talking about MAGA media diets. I'm trying to build a list of healthy MAGA media diet. And now the process I went through on ChatGPT to get here was kind of wild. I asked for fact-based, pro-democracy that would appeal to MAGA outlets. It gave me a bunch of people that I just could not co-sign. And then I said, well, do any of these outlets even if they were neutral on trans, I was going to make that okay because, I need to just try to get people onto a healthy diet. And so it's hard to be pure in my own politics. It's not politics to understand the recognize the existence of trans people, but I'm trying to thread the needle of what can we get our MAGA friends and loved ones to consult and consider when they talk about their media diet. And so right now this list is paltry. And so if you have suggestions, Wendy Frambro or Barbara Karras, if you have suggestions for how I can add to this list, let me even see what Sarah Longwell's deal is, because I don't know her deal. I didn't really vet her that hard. I just trusted ChatGPT, which is a mistake and we should never do. So she posts RFK is gunning for American vaccines. He's canceling advisory meetings, claiming vaccines haven't been safety tested and stripping shots from the schedule. So, okay, so that's good. She says on congressional stock trading, having access to insider information that can crater or catapult markets appears to be extremely lucrative for members of Congress, some of whom outperform the world's leading hedge funds. Okay. Did everyone see Mikey Sherrill, who is running for governor of New Jersey, my home state? Did everyone see Mikey Sherrill on Charlemagne's program? Charlemagne being a guy who has catapulted himself to like fame and like political commentary going back to the last election. And now, did I take that down? This Mikey Sherrill thing? Did I save it? This was terrifying. Look at this. I mean, why do we have a semi-automatic pistol water gun? Like, what the hell is that about? But where is this? Let me find it. Stick with me, everybody. Stick with me, everybody. I thought this was a fascinating view of our media ecosystem. So let me share this with you.
Good luck indeed. Now, you might not have heard of them, but there's a Belfast-based rap trio called Kneecap who've been causing a huge amount of controversy. They've just been cancelled from a performance at the Eden Project. And one of their lines in their songs says, what is it, Andrew?
It says, the only good Tory is a dead Tory. Kill your local MP.
Now, some new footage has emerged of old footage of them saying up Hamas, up Hezbollah. And since then, the group have apologised to the families of the MPs who were tragically murdered, including MPs Joe Cox and Sir David Amess.
Now, the Shadow Home Secretary, Chris Philp, who's the Tory Home Affairs spokesman, has asked Glastonbury Festival to cancel Kneecap from their lineup in the light of the killing MP remarks. Is this going a little bit over the top? What do you think?
So we're joined now by campaigns coordinator for the Revolutionary Communist Party, Fiona Lally. Fiona, good to see you. So tell us what you make of this story. What's going on here?
I say that this is actually about Palestine. I think what's happening right now is there's a smear campaign where you've got the whole of the British establishment and the media coming down on this group because they've used their platform to call for a free Palestine and to talk about how the West is complicit in the genocide that's taking place. And so they're trying to silence them. And I don't think it's going to work. And I think it's an example of how out of touch the media is, how out of touch Parliament is with how ordinary people think about Palestine.
Well, the Palestine issue is sort of secondary in a way because the first bit of this story that came to the attention was this idea of a best Tory is a dead Tory, whatever it is, and Kemi Badenoch waded in on this and said that they should be cancelled for saying that. So surely this is about whether they would have the freedom of speech to express those sorts of violent, aggressive, hateful views rather than the Palestine issue, which seems rather secondary.
I don't think it's secondary because this has come about because they were at Coachella and they put behind themselves Free Palestine and they got the crowd, they got everyone chanting Free Palestine because that is what most people think and that's what they want.
But they were also, can I just jump in, they were also saying pro-Hamas, making pro-Hamas statements, and Hamas is a terrorist organisation that we know was responsible for massacring many Israelis last October.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the British government says about Hamas, and that's for them to say.
No, but they did massacre those people.
The point is, they support a free Palestine, and I support a free Palestine, and I would defend any oppressed people and their right to defend themselves.
But can we just clarify this? You accept the massacre was carried out by Hamas?
Something happened on October 7th. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows that.
Why don't you tell me what you think?
I am telling you what I think. I think that there's a lot of violence that takes place across the Middle East, and I think Western imperialism is responsible for all of that.
So
and I think, or rather, I know that the British government are active participants in that violence. Can I just say, the way that the media have covered this story,
you haven't called it out.
The way that the media covered this story is insane, considering the real violence, the real killing. Babies are being massacred
and you didn't
in
call
Gaza.
It out.
Do you know 100 children die every single day in Gaza, according to UNICEF, and I'm calling it out right now. I'm calling out the British government who are trying to silence there's very few artists, there's very few people out there who will talk about Palestine because they get smeared like this, because they get cancelled like this. And that happens to musicians, that happens to politicians, and it happens to ordinary people in their workplaces as well. And that's a disgrace. That's a disgrace.
What's the smear?
Saying that Kneecap are somehow responsible for violence, as if Kneecap have killed anyone or done anything like that. Like, that's not what's
interesting though, Fiona.
If we want to think about killers, let's go to number 10. Let's go to White House.
But you see,
let's talk about the real terrorists that exist. Let's go to Netanyahu. Let's go to Israel.
Hang on, you've come in here and
these are the killers.
You've presumed. I largely agree with you in terms of what's going on in Gaza. I think it's risible what's happening to people there and children in particular. I think it's inexcusable. However, You on here, and we expected to have a free speech debate with you, and we wanted, I can't speak for Andrew, but I personally think cancelling somebody that's using language in art which others might find offensive is ridiculous. But you've kind of come in here with the assumption that because we are part of the media, we're going to be like every other media, and that's your mistake.
Okay, I mean, it's good if you...
Did you see that laugh? So the reason we're watching this is because it is, yes, it's about a different country's media ecosystem, but there's a few things going on. There's a few things at play here. This young lady is a member of like a Communist Party organization. And so, you know, you just don't see that on any sort of mainstream television media in America. I'm not advocating one way or another for the communist perspective. I'm just saying we need a diversity of opinion. There is a diversity of opinion in this country, and, you know, we should be exposed to all manner of different ideological outputs. There's nothing threatening in ideological outputs from a political perspective. People have different ideas about how to order the world, about how to order society, and they are not threatening to hear, although we have one political party that is saying out loud that, you know, if you basically don't like MAGA, you are, you know, an irredeemable communist, whatever that may mean. It's really about branding. It's really about creating an association in people's minds, a fantasy. It's called brand fantasy, where, you know, the touchstone of something that is associated with a brand then brings for the fore in our psychology all of the other associations, and they've created negative associations with literally just different viewpoints, right? And then the other thing to notice here is just like how this goes, how this conversation goes, how you have the one guy who is obviously he's a television host. I don't know what his journalism credentials are, but he obviously is having this conversation from a particular perspective, and this young lady obviously has her own perspective. She's the guest. These two are nominally journalists, I guess, and she's saying that, like, the lady who's also the host just said, like, you know, they're unlike other media, but they are really pressing this guest to have the same view as them, to think the same way as them, to condemn the same things. I'm not saying that things shouldn't be condemned one way or the other. I'm just saying let's look at what's happening here with that.
You believe in free speech. I also believe in freedom of speech.
I also just want to watch this laughter one time.
Ridiculous. But you've kind of come in here with the assumption that because we are part of the
young
media,
lady's laughter.
We're going to be like every other media. And that's your mistake.
Okay. I mean, it's good if you believe in free speech. I also believe in freedom of speech. I mean, I think that the way in which it is talked about in the media is incredibly hypocritical. And I think the fact that you started this by framing it as though Palestine is second.
Yeah, she's the campaigns coordinator for the Revolutionary Communist Party. When on mainstream media in America have you seen anyone who is a member of the Revolutionary Communist Party?
Is hypocritical. That's what I mean when I say you're part of the mainstream media, because no one is talking about what is actually happening, the real violence that's happening, material, not just language. And in a lot of these discussions, right, people say, hasn't the rhetoric gone too far? Isn't everything becoming a bit divisive? But the point is, real violence is taking place in Palestine and in this country.
So
austerity,
let's go back to
what the Labour government
most of us never heard of kneecap. I hadn't seen the footage from Coachella. We didn't know that.
So that's also hilarious, right? This Britain's newsroom. I don't know, you know, I don't know enough about the British media landscape to know where this place sits. But it's interesting that these two quote unquote journalists are mentioning that they have no knowledge. Like, I know about this kneecap ban not because of what they just did in Britain, where they said these reprehensible things about, you know, that are basically stochastic terrorism, but they were pro-Palestine at Coachella. That's how most people are aware of kneecap, that these people would start and launch into this, and basically it's almost like improv. I mean, they must not have, they just must go through their program, and then the next thing is put in front of them, and then it's the next thing. Maybe they're pretending to not be aware of what happened in Coachella, but I could also see a reality where it's just like they show up for work every day, producers write a bunch of scripts, and these two are good at performing and good at reading the scripts and then ad-libbing about that stuff. And I'm not saying that journalism, that media, that cable news even is doing this all the time, but it is a way that television is produced. And so I think it's fascinating that this woman is admitting that she's never heard of kneecap in relation to what they said in Coachella when they were trying to have a conversation about the speech of this band. I think that's kind of wild.
They came on
very popular now.
They came on the radar. They came on the radar because of saying the best MP, a Tory MP is a dead Tory MP. Go and kill your MPs. That's where they came to our awareness. It was nothing to do with Palestine. Do you think they should be allowed to say that?
They can say whatever they like. I'm not a part of kneecap. They can use their words in whatever way they want. I think what's awful about how this has taken place is people are trying to equate their words with the violence of the bombs that the British government helps to send to Israel. The whole discussion has become about this rhetoric thing and cancellation. And I think ordinary people are disgusted by it. Normal people are disgusted by MPs. They're disgusted by Parliament. They're disgusted, and they don't care what they think. They don't care about their individual feelings or anything like this. And understandably so. And they're disgusted by it because real violence comes from Parliament. It comes, I would argue, from the capitalist system as a whole. There's systemic violence taking place every single day in the Middle East and in Britain. And I want to argue
You're
against
accusing
that.
the government of murder, are you?
Absolutely. Keir Starmer specifically, David Lammy specifically, for their role in Palestine and their role in austerity. The winter fuel allowance, for example, there will be excess deaths of about 4,000 people as a result of the winter fuel. 100,000 people have already died as a result of austerity that started with the Tories.
Obviously,
Labour
they can defend themselves, and Keir Starmer would say, don't listen, we agree with you on the winter fuel payment parts, I think it's outrageous. But they would say, obviously, that bears no resemblance whatsoever to events of October the 7th in Israel. And to draw that comparison is, at best, crass.
I think death is bad. Death is wrong, right? We can agree that we don't like death. So let's say, who is responsible for death? That's what we're trying to get to the source. That's what we should be looking for here. Who is responsible for violence and death in society? And it comes from politicians who uphold a capitalist system which puts profit above need, right? That is what this all comes down to in summary. A system that will do anything it needs to maintain its profits. That's what this is really about. And that causes genocide in Gaza, and it causes austerity in this country.
Fiona, you're from the Revolutionary Communist Party. What do you want in 2025? What would you like to see happen to the global system?
I would like to see a revolution against the billionaires. I would like to see a free Palestine. I would like to see an end to imperialism and an end to the capitalist system itself. And the best thing is, I think there's a growing mood for that already in society. You can see that in a small case in the support for kneecap, but in a broader sense, in the absolute disgust and anger that people have against Parliament, against MPs, and against the capitalist system as a whole.
Okay, thank you so much, Fiona.
So what's fascinating is you're never going to see these critiques for the most part on, I'm going to look up in 1 second, like who produces this show, Great Britain News or whatever. The thing is there's also the reality that part of what she's saying, I'm getting a message from a friend who's going to be in town in a couple days. Hell yeah. So part of what she's saying, though, is something that I would like to dance around the edges of this reality that, yes, maybe my politics are such that I'm not as left as other people who are in the chat, and that's okay. I don't want the mass upheaval that comes with overthrowing these systems of oppression, but I want to overthrow these systems of oppression, right? Like tough titty for me, you know what I mean? Maybe I'm a coward, but I want to believe that there's a way to kind of thread the needle. Of course, I may be totally tilting at windmills, and I respect anyone who wants to tell me that I am. But the reality is that the idea of overthrowing the system is in part a messaging program of people like Vladimir Putin. Because in chaos, these people like Peter Thiel, these people who are creating bunkers around the world, who are anticipating and accelerating chaos, right? The techno-fascists are accelerationists at heart. They will tell you that they are, and they have in their books. Binyani Srinivasian or something, whatever that, no, that's not his name. Bajati, I forget his name, but he's one of the tech overlord dudes, and he wrote a whole book about it, network states. And they want to like create their own autonomous places where they can have them on lockdown, like it's some sort of Last of Us, like, but with technology and, you know, like greenhouses to grow, you know, all the best fruits and that kind of thing. Like they want the chaos that would come. And so I'm not saying that we shouldn't push back on systems of oppression. I just wish we could do it through democratic means, and I always want to take note that we are in an information war for our minds. And so ideas and attitudes and expressions that are about overthrowing the system, like Steve Bannon has the same rhetoric as this young lady, that he wants to tear it all down. And so we need to be cautious of if we are, you know, finding fellow travelers who are actually fascists. And so, you know, that's where I'm at. I rarely explain my politics, but, you know, they are intricately tied, of course, to our media and our information ecosystem. So I kind of have to say that there. And then just also kudos to this program, right? This lady, this host, who I think this host probably like enjoys a drink and a smoke. You know, she seems pretty down. You know, and like I like how she like reverted more to like her accent when she was like saying like, no, don't get us wrong, like I'm with you on this or whatever. So David is an incrementalist, and David, we would probably be shouted down by someone like Lilith, but in a kind way. And so here's the deal. So it's called Britain's Newsroom. So let's find out Britain's Newsroom. But so like kudos to Britain's Newsroom for that lady asked the question, like, you represent the Communist Party. What do you want? Like, that's not a question that is asked. Think about how the New York Times covers our politics and our society. Do they ever consult communists? Right? No, they don't. When they go and provide these articles that they put on their like first section of, you know, Trump voters and you know, independents, you know, they are asking people who have little understanding of our society and who have basically hooked themselves up to a propaganda system for their opinion, and then they repeat disinformation, and then the New York Times prints it, and they spend all their time. They barely even interview Democratic voters. When's the last time you saw a Democratic voter? Someone raise your hand. Talk in the comments. When's the last time you saw a Democratic voter interviewed on TV, you know, in a news article? And then when's the last time you saw a Trump voter at a diner somewhere interviewed? I mean, CNN made an entire series with an Irish guy named Donny who would go and interview Trump supporters. You know, it's just a disturbing information ecosystem that we have. So Britain's Newsroom. And again, I told my fiance that I would only do this for an hour, but I love you all so much. Todd Golden, are you here? Herbert, are you here? Wendy, are you here? Barbara, are you here? Britain's Newsroom. Who produces it? That's how who produces it? Now, I have one example from the Washington Post. It was, I think it wasn't Blue Dog Moms, but it was like from 2019 or something. They finally interviewed, like there was one interview that was like in the newspaper of the Washington Post that was like, these moms feel different from Moms for Liberty. You know what I mean? So Britain's Newsroom, who produces it? This is probably such an open-ended. Hey, Todd, thank you for being here. Todd, you do share the name of the god of this religion, Todd, the god of fear. But, you know, oftentimes people are named Jesus. So, Todd, welcome. You are here in this space, and we love you and we support you. And now, I was asked such an... this is Britain Newsroom produces it. This is the most open-ended thing you could type into ChatGPT. I think I am using the wrong model. Good for writing and exploring ideas. Whoops. Tell me who produces the British news program. Britain's Newsroom. Okay, Britain's Newsroom is a weekday morning news program on GB News, a UK-based television and radio network known for its opinion-led format. Who produces it? It's produced in-house production team, which includes, okay, program is hosted by these people. Daily Mail, which is a little bit of a gossip. Daily Mail, I believe, is maybe even Rupert Murdoch owned, and Bev Turner, a broadcaster known for her work on LBC and ITV. We don't know what those are. GB News. Linda, are you here? GB News is owned. Linda is our resident Brit with major financial backing from Sir Paul Marshall, a hedge fund manager and political donor. And the channel was launched in 2021 with the aim of providing an alternative to mainstream UK broadcasters. Okay, so I don't think it didn't have vibes of like OANN and Newsmax. But what are the politics of Sir Paul Marshall? And again, we should not be using ChatGPT alone for our information and our searching. We should definitely laterally browse, which is when you open up other tabs. The lateral meaning, you expand tabs left to right as you search and verify the information that you are finding on the internet. So Sir Paul Marshall is a prominent hedge fund manager. Yes, his evangelical Christian faith, right-leaning conservatism. So if he is an evangelical, then it explains a little bit about that other host's position, where that other host was arguing very much for the Zionist perspective. And again, evangelicals, especially American evangelicals who are in the halls of power, Mike Pompeo, Mike Huckabee, these types of folks, Mark Meadows, they believe that Jesus will only appear in the ripped open sky in the final throes of our world, which they hope to be here for, if there are Jews in Israel. This is real. This is called New Apostolic Reformation. And so they believe, and it's an evangelical subsect, and so they believe that there has to be Jews in Israel. And so that's part of why there is a geopolitical effort to evict and eliminate Palestinians from the land of Israel. Is specifically because of these warped evangelical Christian beliefs. I mean, they're not warped, I guess. I guess if you're a diehard fundamentalist Christian, this is what you believe, that Jesus will appear in the sky and absolve you of your sins and bring you up to heaven if you are chosen, and not if you are not. And so in order to affect that, this is the warped part, is that they're down with, abrogating the Ten Commandments in order to achieve that. Whatever, the logic doesn't make sense to me personally. And if you are a Christian, whatever your faith is, that's cool. Spirituality is cool, but not when it's leading to the advancement of unaliving other people. Sorry, I'm using TikTok speak. So if this guy believes the same way American evangelicals do, it makes sense that when we watch his program with a host who is asking this person to disavow, Hamas, and linking them to people who just fight for Palestinian rights, period. You all get it. You're my smart audience. So there you go. That's it. So then I want to just lastly end with, because I can't do it. I can't not give y'all 2 hours of my time, and I did. And we're grateful for the people. We've got many viewers here on TikTok, on Twitch and YouTube. We want to remind everyone that we go live on TikTok at 3:34 each day. And in the interim, I try to write articles, make videos, do that kind of thing. So if you can support me in any way by boosting my videos on TikTok, YouTube, I got a lot of good stuff to help you talk to people about our information ecosystem. And for you to better understand our information ecosystem, you can go to our Blue Sky, publicenlightenment.com, at publicenlightenment.com, at Blue Sky, okay? And then I have a bunch of lists where you can get all the context you need for the national news in just a matter of minutes every single day by consulting my diversity of opinion list. Or if you want to know how historians feel about what's going on, you can click on my historians list. All of that stuff is available to you at Blue Sky. And I just want to find me Mikey Sherrill's appearance on the Breakfast Club, where she is talking about her stock trading. So this is just like wild, and I just want to share this with everyone. This is not exactly what we normally do on this program, but like if you want to give a critique of Democratic politicians, and first of all, I want to remind everyone that they can go to TikTok or to Instagram, but mostly TikTok, where this person is more active. You can go and type in "stalking the Capitol," which is spelled like stocks trading stocks. Stalking the Capitol. That is our pal Nico. We wrote an article called 6 Fact-Based Influencers You Can Use to Flood the Zone with Facts at publicenlightenment.com. But so Nico does incredible work. Nico does incredible work, and he gives a grade to every member of Congress on their financial holdings. A grade of financial integrity. The results may shock you, especially if you have MAGA friends and loved ones who believe disinformation about AOC, for example, right? There's disinformation everywhere constantly about AOC and her finances. I came across a piece of disinformation, a meme the other day that showed, so go check out Nico's videos, Stalking the Capitol. I'll show you really quick.
In a brand new interview, billionaire.
Excuse me, we don't like that. I'll show you this video from the other day. Wait, hold on. New collections. I'm starting to make collections that will help you all, and I will make them public as needed. But so what do I have? I have disinformation examples, and so here's this is disinformation that our
fear the storm.
Friends and loved ones are seeing all the time with funny.
Patches aren't given, they're earned one bloody stitch at a time. It's life sentence, not a hobby. The road ain't just where we ride, it's where we rule our patch.
So that is about earning military patches, but maybe even police patches. Anyway, so this is New York State judge has ordered Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to surrender her tax returns. This is total disinformation, right? This is not true, but they are constantly being bombarded with these types of messages. And then you can go to Stalking the Capitol, and you can see that AOC gets a grade of like an A or an A+ because she does not hold any individual stocks. She does not take corporate PAC money, all of those kinds of things. And of course, we are loving building this list so that we can talk to our MAGA friends and loved ones. Like, here's disinformation that is literally AI-created blue-haired liberals. That's pretty funny stuff. But anyway, I'm digressing. What I want to say is I want to show you that Mikey Sherrill thing. Okay, show me the link. Okay, so here we go. This is just like base level horrific ability at messaging. You know, Mikey Sherrill was actually my congressperson when I was living briefly at my mother's after my brother passed away. And so I was living, I'd reestablished like residence there. And I had an issue that I needed to solve about transferring something to do with like me buying a vehicle in New Jersey and then needing to get it to Minnesota or vice versa, back and forth. And I was having a lot of trouble with the New Jersey DMV. And I'll tell you what, Mikey Sherrill's constituent representative was incredible and helped me very, very much. You know, I would prefer a Democratic non-MAGA governor of New Jersey, but this is just like some of the most unbelievably bad. Like this, like how can these people be so bad at speaking to the public? Like, think about how Trump would handle these questions, and he would just basically railroad through them, and people would either like it would just be over. But like this is so bad.
Wake that ass up in the morning. The Breakfast Club.
And just saying, look, guys, the commuter. I mean, this is constant incompetence.
And that's when, you know, we had Mayor Baraka here yesterday, and he was saying that, well, this morning, and he was saying that people walked off, like, you know, air traffic controllers left because they didn't want to be responsible for somebody potentially dying.
Well, they also, in the 90-second delay, I mean, air traffic control is really difficult. Mm-hmm. And traditionally, this up, tree school, my grandfather, but how do we avoid the facts?
Yeah.
I mean, there was a separate track for CQ Brown, who does his 100 push. Raise my hand. No.
Pardon me.
I hear you. Democratic leadership. Some Johnny-come-lately ideal I have that suddenly Trump, but you're most, that sometimes as we get caught up in our fears, I want you to go talk to, I'm going to cave today, and then he's going to leave
Anti-Trump, because you're not
orders, so these could be save the family at the hospital, but
Sorry.
not sufficient because
the whole
it's going to get
interview.
right, and they disappears. Say, hey, look, I've done this before. Don't. You can build generational wealth.
People got to be able to afford those.
Business of being a base, paying for the MTA.
Out of all of that money that's going to be.
This is the kind of school we need the minute you graduate. Is running this. So, I've never taken money from Elon Musk.
Okay, here we
there
go.
Were
I thought you took it and then donated it to
those jobs are going to
Musk's campaign fund, and that you made millions on the stock market, tripling your net worth while.
So he's referencing, so Charlemagne the God was watching some television the other day, and he saw a attack ad. I guess the mayor of, is it the Newark mayor is Ras Baraka? Some mayor is running for office as well, I think. And so he had an attack ad in the primaries in New Jersey against Mikey Sherrill that said these things that that Charlemagne the God is saying right now.
You were in Congress and you were fined for unreported trades. What do you say to that?
So, I've never taken money from Elon Musk. There were
I thought you took it and then donated it to charity.
People from SpaceX, which was one of his companies, they donate, individuals from SpaceX donated to my campaign, and I, donated in kind to a food bank because I wanted people to know where I stood on it. And I have since offered legislation to have Elon Musk drug tested and to get him out of doging everything. But I also don't trade individual stocks. It's been widely reported. My husband doesn't trade. We don't trade individual stocks. I don't think anyone in Congress should, quite frankly. And I've been on legislation for that.
Her husband is a senior executive at UBS who works in the derivatives department. So she could say that at any time, and she doesn't.
I don't hold individual stocks.
So when Newsmax claims that you made $7 million from stock trades, what are they talking about?
Newsmax is, first of all, a very questionable organization that is paying multiple fines. I'm not sure what they're talking about.
So the way she just handled that question about Newsmax was a nightmare. She looks and sort of sounds condescending and just dismisses it out of hand. You need to say Newsmax is created by a guy named Christopher Ruddy, who is an ardent Trump supporter. His station his channel often spreads disinformation. And when she says multiple fines, she needs to explain that. She needs to say, they are in a court case against, Smartmatic or Dominion voting systems. I don't know what she even means by multiple fines. What does that mean? And if I'm an American New Jersey resident listening to her and I am independent in any way, I'm going to be like, what are you talking about?
I would guess that the root of that would be because some of my husband's payments from his company have been in stocks, which are immediately and automatically sold. But there is no individual stock trade. It's not as if I go sit on the House Armed Service Committee and suddenly I'm trading Boeing or something. There's none of that. I'm totally out of individual stocks. And like I said, I think every member of Congress should be.
Well, did you make $7 million in stock trades at all? Or?
I haven't. I don't believe I did, but I'd have to go see what that was alluding to. Again, what kind of came from.
It was a report in the.
No, I know it's from Newsmax, which again.
And then another one in the Washington Free Beacon, which is a conservative leaning platform, but they said you had increased from between 733,209 to over 4 million in 2019, and then between 4 million to 13 million in 2024. So that's where they got the 7 million increase. It's the average of the two broad asset
they averaged out
categories.
that. Yeah. Look, I both my husband and I come from very middle class families. My parents were the first in their family to go to college, and his were both teachers. And then we both went into the military. And afterwards, he got a good job, and we've been really lucky. I really deeply feel like this country has provided an incredible amount of opportunity to us. And that's why I think I feel a responsibility to sort of pay that forward. And that's why I think opportunity is so critically important. And I often, when I think about what democracy means, to me, it means opportunity. And it means not just opportunity for me, like Trump might say, and it doesn't mean opportunity to enrich myself. It means opportunity for the greatest amount of people possible. I think that's what democracy at its best offers. I love that idea that some political philosophers of democracy have.
Are you guys watching
that
this?
You should create a society so that if you don't know how you're going to be born, if you don't know if you're going to be a man or a woman or rich or poor or black or white, you have no idea. You create a society and then get dropped into it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you create that kind of society, then you're going to create something that gives everybody the best chance at opportunity. And we've been lucky. And so right now what I see is a president in Donald Trump who is trying to stop all opportunity, who's taking, who's enriched.
The question is literally 2 disinformation propaganda outlets on the right have accused you of making $7 million by trading stocks. What do you have to say about that? And this is her answer.
Himself and his billionaire cronies and is continuing to try to do that and then pulling up the ladder of success behind him. And I see that at every level. And that's why, to kind of take it full circle, I think as Democratic governor, running a state that creates that opportunity, like just with Lionsgate, and creates pathways for opportunity, pre-distribution of wealth, like giving everyone that opportunity, because we know, like, my parents weren't in the military. I have to tell you that the kids whose parents were admirals, like, they knew that system. Mm-hmm. They did really well, right? And all of the instructors knew their dad. And so I think creating that what you're doing when you create opportunity and you're trying to create generational wealth is you're creating an opportunity for not just the individual, but that person to then get into a good job and then give their kids
just bring it back around.
The kind of,
watch this.
Hey, I'm in this job and my buddy is running the summer internship and I'm going to get you a summer internship. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of opportunity we're talking about. And that's what I think we have to create in New Jersey. And that's the exact opposite of what's happening in Washington. And I talk a lot about the military because that's my experience. But when I'm telling you that they're doing what they're doing to women, what they're doing to people of color, it's again trying to say, these are the people that we see as succeeding. These are the people that are on the pathway to success, and we're pulling up the ladder for everybody else.
I agree. Hold on. I just want to be clear, though, because I agree with what you're saying, but I just want to be clear because this ad is running, and I'm sure you'll be asked about this a million times. So, if you get an opportunity to just clear it up, I think you should take it now. It says she made millions on the stock market, tripling her net worth while in Congress, and was then fined for unreported trades. Is that true or false?
So I think we made money from my husband's job. He gets paid in stocks. They're automatically sold. So I think we made money there. We don't make any individual money stock trading. We're out of all individual stocks because I want people to know that I'm not somehow gaining information and enriching myself because of my work in Congress.
Gotcha.
So that's really important to me. And I think every member of Congress should do that, and I'm on legislation for that. Because those stocks get immediately sold, we do a lot of reporting. And at the end of the year, we did an audit of our reporting, and the lawyers, found a stock trade that had been automatically sold. And so we self-reported it and paid a fine for that. But I think that's what that's alluding to.
For her not to just have a prepared answer, for her not to just be able to say, first of all, for her to say, I think that is, instead of saying, my husband has a high-paying job, we're very lucky to be in that position, I don't trade any individual stocks, and Newsmax and the Washington Free Beacon are specifically owned and operated by people who are billionaires, who are pro-Trump, and who do not want anything other than the MAGA agenda to be advanced in any state, anywhere in the country. What an insane answer. Is anybody with me? Can anybody hear me? Can anybody see what I'm talking about? Does anybody care? For this Democratic politician to not have an answer, And then for her especially to have an answer that only sows doubt if you are watching this and you're suspicious of this politician, to only have an answer that is like shady as hell, and to say, I think this is what is happening, rather than saying disinformation outlets run by right-wing billionaires are attacking me. My husband does have a high-paying job at a financial institution. My work in Congress does not have anything to do with his work, and his work does not have anything to do with my work, and I do not trade individual stocks. They are referring to an increase in our wealth that is driven by my husband existing in part of our society where you make a large salary. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just think it's crazy. I just think it's crazy that in the face of fascism, Democratic politicians have like literally zero media training and like literally like zero ability. Like she went on a rambling answer, which is nice. Like society should be good for everyone. Okay. But when you are being asked to like unequivocally clear this up, and you sound shady as hell, and maybe she is shady as hell, and that's why she sounded shady as hell. But even either way, like Donald Trump, who is shady as hell, would have a pugilistic, bellicose answer that shut it all down. And for Democrats not to like be playing the political game in the same way is just kind of laughable and extremely disappointing. It doesn't mean that I am not going to vote for the only viable opposition party, that's it. So it seems like I lost most of my audience with my doing that, and that's okay. And I love all of you. And so Stephen Draper, Tracy Mack, Judy Locke, Anima. I'm going to be on TikTok later today at around 3:30 or 4. I love you all very much. Have a great rest of your day. Again, we will remind you all of the tools on social media. We have a Blue Sky account. On our Blue Sky account, you can go to our profile. Our profile is right here. You can click on the lists on our profile. Our profile is at publicenlightenment.com, and it looks like this. You can click on the lists, and you can find all the information you need to get the context that you deserve for the news every single day on this planet. Legal experts, the news, media critics. We highly recommend you check out the news. And if you have a MAGA friend or loved one who is non-MAGA curious, we recommend that you ask them to check out this feed of information, because after all, it is a feed. We are all feeding on media. We all have a dinner table of media diet that we sit down to every single day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And what are we putting into our minds, and what is the quality of that food, that brain food, that mental information, and are we caring about our media diet and everyone else's? So let's see what the legal experts are up to over here. So Linda McMahon is saying universities should continue to be able to do research as long as they're abiding by the laws and in sync, I think, with the administration and what the administration is trying to accomplish. This scholar, Jamal Green, who is a law professor at Columbia, is saying this will go straight into the briefs. And then you could read maybe the replies to get more context on what he's talking about. But basically what they're saying is she's saying something that can be used against her in the court cases that Donald Trump is having, like the one against Harvard. Mark Joseph Stern is saying, this man, Judge Stone, has argued some of Texas's most evil cases in front of the Supreme Court. He defended the state's abortion bounty hunter law, sought to dismantle tribal sovereignty, and repeatedly asserted Texas's right to seize control over the southern border and immigration policy from Biden. This is just in. Texas's former Solicitor General has left the AG's office amid sex misconduct allegations and a lawsuit outlining his apparent months of detailed disclosures to colleagues about his sexual obsession with it, watching an asteroid. Can y'all read what's on the screen? Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. So look, it is true that many people who were in like campaign apparatus around the country in Donald Trump's campaign in 2020 and 2024 ended up being pedophiles. That is a real fact about the world. That is not me being conspiratorial. For some reason, it's not something I bring up a lot. But this is wild there is a lot of weird, wild stuff happening in the leadership of the MAGA Republican Party. This person's fantasy of sexual obsession was watching an asteroid commit sexual assault on the buttocks of the agency's number 2 attorney in front of his kids. Are you seeing that? Do you see that? This is in court. Oh my God. What? Okay, anyway, Chris Geithner is being very suspicious, and I think that he's referring to this, what we just talked about. I gotta go. Why am I still doing this? Because I love all of you. Oh, do you all know who Chuck Tingle is? Chuck Tingle is kind of hilarious. It's a series of fake books that are like about anyway, you can look it up. Given the disgraceful treatment of South African president by President Trump in the White House, it is only appropriate that we take 3 minutes to listen to an excerpt of his recent remarks to his National Assembly explaining the country's black empowerment program. Brilliant. So let's retweet that and let's watch it. And then I'm out.
Now, in our country, it was just the few privileged, and may I continue to say white people, who continue to own the means of production, who continue to own the productive economy of our country. Now, we took them to America. Now, this I find very worrying. I find it very worrying that we continue to have this notion that BEE is the one that's holding our economy back. It is the partial and exclusive ownership of the means of production in our country that is holding this economy from growing. So, what we seek to do, as set out in the Equality Clause in our Constitution, to redress the imbalances of the past. If we accept that the ownership of our economy is imbalanced, the clause on equality in our Constitution seeks to undo that, to redress that. So therefore, ownership of our economy should be broadened. And I can tell you, Dr. Mulder, there's nothing that gives our people joy, particularly black people, as they go around and they find that this production facility is owned by a black person. It warms one's heart. It makes us feel so good, because we've come from a horrible past when that was not allowed by law, where people were arrested. If you wanted to set up an economic facility in town, you were put to jail. But today, we are saying all that must be put behind us. We must allow more and more people to play an important role in the economy of our country. And this is what baffles me by those who are opposed to black economic empowerment. I say, what do you want to see happening? Do you want to see black people continuing to play the role of laborers, drawers of water, hewers of wood, and consumers only? Why can't black people be made to own productive aspects of our economy? Why can't they be rich as well? That is what needs to happen. Because it is when they get to that level to be the citizens. Now, in our country, it was just the few.
How are you going to spread fact-based information today that aligns with democracy? Every single time you are online, you are not just liking, you are not just commenting, you are reposting fact-based information that is in support of democracy in the face of the program of the fascists who want to flood the zone with shit. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you at 3:30, 4 p.m. on TikTok. Let's do it, baby.